Hello, everyone, and welcome to my second broadcast of the day. Hope everyone is well and having a good Sunday. A good night after... Good night? No, it's not. Well, I guess it depends on when you're watching this, what part of the world you're in. But a good time after Halloween last night is what I meant to say. Also, welcome to November. And for those of you in America, welcome to the eve of Election Day. Oh, boy. But that's all things to consider another time. Right now, what we're going to consider, all things considered, is a little podcast from NPR. This is an episode of something called How I Built It. So there is no video to watch, but I did cook up a image of the two people who will be speaking during the course of this. Why did I pick this? Well, there's a special reason I picked this out. Some of you may already be aware of that special reason. Some of you may have already listened to this. I don't know. Myself, I have listened to very little of it, even though there is a special reason I'm doing this. So what is that special reason? Well, I don't want to give it away. You'll know it when it happens, let's just say. Thank you, tall person. Happy National Calzone Day, everybody. Ooh, when was the last time I had a calzone? I don't recall. That means it must have been a long time ago. But before we get into this mystery box of a podcast, let's say hello to Keenan, hello, Matt Barnes, hello, tall person, hello, Wade Waleson, hello, Black Belt for Christ, hello, Somnamnul Nation, hello, Mike R, hello, Joshua Wetzel, hello, Havoc Vladimirovich Stolanov, hello, Zalba, hello, Dumpster Fire, hello, Scanner Daftly, hello, Ryan, hello, Aspianti, hello, Mark, Paniki, hello, You're Ridiculous Lunatic, hello, Corey Suzuki, hello, Atheist Icon, hello, Crimson Tiger, hello, The Original Shroom, hello, Spider-Man, hello, Non-Vitae Rex, hello, Mike Savage, Blarg, X-Chillerx, or just Chiller with the Haxor type stuff. Yeah, okay, Chiller. John Smith, Sprint Cars Rule, hello, Sturmadler, hello, Richo8181, hello, Joshua Wetzel. Did I already say hello to Joshua? If I didn't say hello to Joshua, hello, Joshua Wetzel. Brutus, hello. Puddock, hello. No Name, hello. All right, guys. So, no bingo card for this one. Just listen and find out. So what is this about? Well, so the series is called How I Built It. And the subject of this particular podcast is building resilience into a business. Now, what is resilience? It's an interesting word. But also an interesting word is yo, as said by Officer Buck Tudd Russell. Thank you so much. So when I think of resilience, I think of durability, toughness, strength. So if we're talking about resilience insofar as a business, well, I imagine, let's say, for example, a sudden global pandemic hits and your business is able to adjust to still remain in business despite such a hardship. Now, that's an extreme example, but, that's something that I would categorize as being a resilient business. You're able to thrive and survive even against difficulty. What does resilience in business mean to our speaker here? I don't know, because I haven't listened to this, but we're about to find out. Blind Press, hello! So I will start off with a few seconds, and then you guys tell me if you can hear this, and then we will proceed. This clocks in just under 20 minutes, so it's a bit of a lengthy one. Let's go.
Hey, everyone, and welcome to How I Built This Resilience Edition. On these episodes, we're talking with entrepreneurs and other business leaders about how they're meeting today's challenges with new strategies and ideas.
All right, so meeting today's challenges with new strategies and ideas. You guys hear all that? Let me know. This is Kyle. Thank you so much. Hello, chat people and scribbles. I swear you streamed earlier today, but either way, here's more money. Well, I did stream earlier today. Thank you, Kyle. Today's just streaming day for me, I guess. I just had the bug to stream. Also, this particular, I should say, I noticed that this particular podcast was posted officially today. Again, for a very special reason, but we'll get there. All right, let's continue.
And today, we're going to hear from Cheryl Conti, founder and CEO of Do Big Things. Cheryl was part of the How I Built This Summit both in 2018 and 2019. Her digital agency, Do Big Things, helps organizations like Google, the NAACP, and Etsy with creative strategy, website development, campaign content, and much more.
Creative strategy Okay. There's some words there that are missing from the original description of what this is about. So I bet we'll get there, though.
Tell us a little bit more about Do Big Things. Tell us about your company.
Sure, absolutely. So Do Big Things is a digital agency, as you mentioned, that specializes in working with the world's leading causes, campaigns, candidates, corporations with mission-driven initiatives.
Mission-driven initiatives. What corporation or company doesn't have a mission statement? What is a mission-driven initiative, then, I wonder?
To provide the new narrative and new tech for the new era in which we all are living in today.
The new tech, new narrative sounds suspicious.
We're working really hard on the election, but also on the pandemic. We've been working on eviction prevention campaigns. We're likely to start working on a campaign targeted at misinformation around vaccines. We're out here really trying hard to help people in a
eviction. Let's see, that's interesting because the stream I did earlier today dealt with eliminating evictions and things. So they're helping movements against evictions, helping campaigns against misinformation. Okay. What does that have to do with resilience, I wonder?
A tough time.
And sort of give me a sense of how you work with companies, like campaigns, of course, and sort of creative marketing, strategic advice, things like that.
Sure. People come to us for a lot of different reasons, right? We are a digital full service agency. Whether you need strategy, you need research on online influencers and who to target where.
I'm an online influencer, right? I can help. I can be an influencer. You're a full service. So you do everything? Doesn't sound very specific, but okay.
Whether you want to run ads for persuasion or for acquisition.
Why else would you run ads but for persuasion? I don't know what that means.
We're building apps. We build websites. It just depends on, you need to do something online to reach someone, usually not to sell anything. We're not selling things, widgets, toothpaste, cars.
No, you're not selling those things. You're helping people sell those things. You're a marketing agency, as far as I can tell. Has she not said the word marketing yet? I'm not doing a bingo card on this one, but it sounds like she runs a marketing agency, an online marketing agency that people can hire to help them get the word out about their causes. Maybe she targets nonprofits and activist movements and such, but still, that's marketing.
We're helping to promote positive ideas that create social change.
Oh, so you're a marketing agency with a social change mission-driven initiative?
So I know, Cheryl, before you launched Do Big Things, you actually created another business, Attentively, which is a social marketing software business.
Attentively. Can you just make a dot out of anything now? In ye olden days, it was like .com and .gov and .edu. I suppose you can make a dot out of anything now. Okay.
And one of the first tech startups with a Black female founder, and then it was acquired by a NASDAQ company.
Oh, wow. Our speaker must be loaded. Holy cow.
Can you just kind of walk us through the journey of that business and how it was acquired, and then how you decided to start Do Big Things?
Well, that's a long story of how I started Attentively, but basically we saw a gap in the market. And I think especially in this time, for those people, maybe you have lost your job or your job is changing, look at the gaps around you and see if you're able to provide a solution to that problem. That's what we did. We saw in the corporate marketing segment that there were a lot of people using social listening, influencer engagement, and marketing automation in very sophisticated ways online that nonprofits didn't have access to.
Okay. Well, good for her.
For a lot of different reasons. Price, the tools weren't really tailored to the way that they talk about their audiences. So that's why we created Attentively, to meet that need and fill that gap. And, we had competition, of course, and we were very visible also, as an all-female team. with a Black female co-founder.
Co-founder. Okay.
It wasn't easy to get funding. We had to work really hard. And
You had to work really hard in business? Oh, no.
I experienced some real discrimination despite running at the same time another digital agency that had pulled in millions of dollars in revenue. We were still seen as risky.
Well, I know a lot of businesses that are seen as risky that are packed full of men just because of their business model or their business success and so on. It's okay. I need some more examples. Thank you, McCall, the Driving 8-Man. Yes, you can have a custom URL a couple of years now. Okay. See, this is me not having anything to do with, building websites or anything anymore. So, I mean, I've seen websites like that, but I figured they were just like custom redirects or something like that. But okay. Attentively.
Which to me seemed very, very strange. Long story short, we grew over time. We became the dominant player in our market. And we were an impact startup that then became acquired by an impact corporation.
Impact startup, impact corporation. What is an impact startup? What does impact mean in that context? I don't know. Will she tell us? I hope so. But okay, so despite the fact that you are a female team, despite the fact that you are a woman of color co-founder, you still succeeded and sold the company to another company and presumably made a decent profit out of it. And it took hard work to get there. Okay, so it worked out. All right.
Blackbaud, which is one of the leading purveyors of nonprofit software.
Right.
So it's possible to do good by doing good, and that's what we do here at Do Big Things.
That's a bold statement. So what good do you do when you're just being a marketing firm? Again, if you're a marketing firm that's targeting specific activist organizations that you believe in and believe are doing good, then all right, I guess.
And what we did at Attentively.
I know that you've got a blog and you write for different publications, a lot about increasing diversity in entrepreneurship.
Aha, here we go.
Can you talk a little bit about some of the ways that you are trying to push this idea out into the world?
Absolutely. Well, when you look at the field right now, there's still this socialization in our country, in our world, that an entrepreneur looks like Mark Zuckerberg. And
an entrepreneur looks like Mark Zuckerberg. That's a scary thought.
No disrespect to Mark.
No disrespect to Mark. But
he's not the only person who's got great ideas.
Yeah, like you who sold your company to NASDAQ, or any zillion other people who are running businesses who don't look like Mark Zuckerberg. And what do you mean by look like Mark Zuckerberg, might I ask?
Entrepreneurs can come in every shade, every size.
Really? You don't say.
Every color.
Oh, every shade, every color. All right. So going for the skin color twice in the same. Okay.
And that's a thing that I think we need to work hard, especially now as our economy is rebooting, to work on. So I wrote a book.
You wrote a book. Oh, boy.
Mechanical Bull, How You Can Achieve Startup Success. It's the story of my journey, but there's also a lot of friends of mine who are investors, who are founders themselves, and it's their stories as well.
Well, if I don't know. I don't know what looking like Mark Zuckerberg means, but should I not attempt to become an entrepreneur because I'd just be one more grain of sand in the desert if I looked like Mark Zuckerberg? What's wrong with looking like Mark Zuckerberg? What does looking like Mark Zuckerberg have to do with anything? I don't know. I'd love for our speaker to tell us.
What did it take to get through every part of the startup cycle, which is tough. I named it Mechanical Bull in part because it's a wild ride.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a tech startup, no question, especially if you're a woman.
I have worked for a tech startup. It was a wild ride, and it was run by a man, a white man. Depends on the market, depends on your business model, depends on what you're doing, how well you're doing it. There is no easy path just because you are of one color or another in business. I'm sorry. It's hard work. It's having a good idea. It's knowing how to network, and sometimes it involves a lot of luck. I take a little bit of exception to this notion that somehow it's inherently harder for someone as an entrepreneur in a startup because of what you look like. Investors are interested in their profit margin. VCs and everything, can you return the investment? And can you succeed on the basis of that? If you find a VC that's going to disregard you because of what you look like, well, you didn't want that VC in the first place. For crying out loud.
When a woman rides a mechanical bull, people have a different response to that.
Yeah, because they want to watch some jiggly bits bounce. That's why people watch women ride mechanical bulls. I'm sorry, and or to see them fall off. But seeing somebody fall off a mechanical bull really runs the gamut of gender. But for a woman in particular, yeah, there's other reasons.
Than a man. When a man rides a mechanical bull, they're looking at his strength, his strategy, his stamina.
No, they're hoping he's going to fall off in a drunken stupor.
When a woman is riding a mechanical bull, they're, watching the jiggly parts.
Well, you know what? You got me. Also, that she's going to fall off in a ridiculous manner. So there's an added bonus to watching a woman on a mechanical bull. But you're right, and I said it beforehand. I wasn't trying to hide that bit.
Right, and they're not really focused on the same amount of effort, maybe more effort, that it takes for a woman, that same strength, strategy, and stamina. So,
nonsense. If a woman can survive the 8 seconds or whatever on a mechanical bull better than a man, she gets so much applause. Probably far more than a man would, because the expectations are lower because of the physical disparity between most men and women. And that's just the nature of biology. Sexual dimorphism is what it's called. And the expectations thereof distinguish between the two. So anyway.
I did it the tough way. Okay. Being in the tech world as a Black woman.
Business is tough. You did it the tough way. It's tough being an entrepreneur. It's tough in business being a startup. You're not that special. Hate to tell you.
Not easy at all.
It never is. You have to work hard.
Absolutely dancing backwards in heels.
Oh, boy.
You wrote an article in the Harvard Business Review. It's called Advice on Launching a Tech Startup When You're Not a White Man. And
okay. Well, I can't wait to hear this.
It's a really terrific article. One of the things you talked about was that when founders of color are pitching VCs, they're pitching ideas that may help their communities out, but may not solve problems or impact the lives of the rich, predominantly white men who they're pitching.
VCs are looking for return on investment. If you have a VC that cares more about the color of your skin than they do their profit margin, it's probably not a VC you want to be working with in the first place.
So what advice do you have for up-and-coming founders and founders of color to kind of demonstrate that their big ideas are worth it, are worth backing, even if the potential funders, might not be directly impacted by that product or service?
Okay. Again, I'll say it. VCs care about return on investment. Whether they use the product or impacted by it or not, it doesn't matter. Can you show them that you can give them a return on their investment? It's very cold and very pragmatic. I mean, admittedly, you might have some VCs out there that have so much money that they don't care about return on investment. They're doing it for some kind of higher purpose or whatever, or they've got money to burn. Sure, you can find those, okay? But if you come to a VC and you say, I've got a brand new soap to pitch, and it uses a scent that the VC doesn't actually care for, but you can show them that you can make a profit off of what you're doing, They may invest even if they never use your product. What are you talking about?
I do hope that people check out that article because we worked really closely with Harvard Business Review on it, and it has a lot of practical tips in it that I think people can use right now. But at least what worked for me was data, right? And showing, look, you might not get this totally. This isn't a problem that I'm solving for you, wealthy, white, male investor.
Is that how you talk to them? Is that how you approach VCs? You categorize and belittle them on the basis of their gender or their race? Really? I have a feeling that's not how you actually speak to venture capitalists. I have a distinct feeling that's not how you approach people. I could be wrong. Maybe there are some self-hating VCs out there that just like, I'm a terrible white person. Please take my money. But all the same, I have a feeling that's not how you approach a venture capitalist.
But there's a lot of people for whom this is an issue, and here's how much money we can make.
Yeah, I see, and that's the bottom line. Is the bottom line is the bottom line. Don't pretend it's anything else. Come on.
We can do a lot of good. Some investors really care about that, especially right now. But also, this is a pathway to making a lot of money and creating a successful business that builds jobs.
Making a lot of money. That's really the beginning and the end of the argument you have to make to a real venture capitalist. At least one that is looking to get a profit on its investment. Thank you, Bacall, the Driving Ape Man. Maybe she means Bill Pulte. Pult? I don't know who that is. Is that a Canadian? Is that someone I should know? Because I don't know. I don't know how to respond to that. Clarify for me, Pincalo. You don't have to do another super chat. Pulte. Bill Pulte. Who is Bill Pulte? He is a builder. A builder of what? Gingerbread houses? Skyscrapers? Some emulation. Bo don't know Pulte. Yeah, you're right. He's a dude on Twitter supposedly giving out money to random people. Oh, sort of like Mr. Beast. Okay. Right. I mean, again, you could find a venture capitalist who just has so much money and doesn't care and just seeds their money all over the place and is looking for reasons beyond profit to send their money. Maybe they're just sort of like doing it on spec or doing it for some kind of magnanimous notion. That's fine. That's fine. But those are so rare in this world. 99.9% of the time, if you're talking to a VC, their first and main concern is, will I get a return on my investment? Maybe there's some, am I going to invest in a positive company, a productive company, a company that shares my values? Sure. But a lot of VCs don't really have that luxury. So I would be very curious to know if our speaker has ever approached a VC and says, look, I know you don't get this as a rich white guy, but blah, 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 blah. I'd be curious to know, has she ever said that directly to the face of a venture capitalist group? And what was the reaction she got? I'd be very curious to know.
When we come back in just a moment, more of my conversation with Cheryl Conti and how entrepreneurs can battle imposter syndrome and build strong networks online.
Okay, I haven't listened to this whole thing yet. If we're about to go into a commercial, I'm going to find a way to skip over that in a second, so bear with me. This is the first time I'm listening to this, so I don't know exactly how this is arranged.
Stay with us. I'm Guy Raz, and you're listening to How I Built This Resilience Edition from NPR. This message comes from NPR sponsor.
Okay, not going to do a sponsor thing. Let me get to past that.
Wisdom and encouragement. And I'm talking with Cheryl Conti. She's the founder and CEO of Do Big Things. And even after starting multiple businesses, Cheryl often gets asked about how to handle imposter syndrome. At the summit, you did a session about imposter syndrome, which I love talking about because it's such a huge issue for so many people.
Imposter syndrome. Now, what is my understanding of imposter syndrome? At its basics, my understanding is being in a situation and feeling like you don't deserve to be there. Right? Like, what was it? In high school, I remember I was invited to a little party thing one time with a whole bunch of other students. And it was because I was among a number of students in the school who had a GPA of a certain level or above. And because of this, I get to have, a little cake and get a certificate or something. It was something like that. And I remember sitting there going like, I don't know that I deserve some kind of special recognition for this, because in my case, and it wasn't a humble brag or anything, I just honestly didn't feel like I'd done anything that extraordinary to deserve a certificate and all this other stuff. Because I had friends and people I knew in school who had worked their asses off just to get like a C average because of other things going on in their lives or other problems they had. And so I kind of felt like I don't think I deserve special recognition for this particular thing. That's sort of my personal reference for what imposter syndrome is. That's my understanding of it. Thank you, Officer Buck. Am I crazy to think she does more Taiwanese? Oh, she looks more Taiwanese. Oh, I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know anything about our speaker. And even if I did, what does it matter? Mm-hmm.
So many people, even successful people, and you talked about how you, especially as a Black woman in tech, dealt with it. Especially when you're in a room full of, people who all look the same.
If you're feeling uncomfortable in a room full of people that all look the same, you might be the racist in the room. Just saying.
So let's talk about this idea first. I mean, when you talk to younger founders or younger entrepreneurs, people starting up, they probably confide in you that they're a little bit nervous about feeling like they don't quote unquote belong. What do you say to people when they talk to you about that?
I am dying to know. What do you say to people who feel like they don't belong?
I certainly felt that way when I first started. I was definitely the fly in the oatmeal.
The fly in the oatmeal. Wow.
Which in some ways I turned to an advantage, right? Because if I'm, the only Black woman walking into a room and there's 100 white guys, and I'm not kidding, that has literally happened to me.
Yeah.
I can believe it. And then,
people remember me. They know who I am. I stand out. And
because you say so, I guess. Thank you, Officer Buck. That guy just said she's Black, but she looks more Southeast Asian to me. I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know. I mean, it's irrelevant to me. I'm barely even looking at my screen right now. I'm just listening to the audio. So could be.
So in my case, I tried to fake it until I could make it, and
fake it until you could make it. Well, not a bad strategy when you're in business. It's true.
Say, all right, I need to embody being a successful, technologist.
Because obviously all the white people in this room are racist. That's the message I'm getting here. Is that everybody in the room who doesn't look like you obviously has a racial discriminatory perspective on you or something? Interesting way to think about other people.
And even if I don't feel that way right now, how would I act if I were that?
I need to act in a way that I think this strange group of people would accept me as, because I have certain stereotypes I live in for these people.
And then it became more natural over time as I practiced and basically role played. It felt like role playing sometimes.
You were playing a part and being deceptive. Okay.
But also, use it as an advantage to stand out. And look, you are as qualified as anyone there. That's what I tell people. You're as qualified, just
not necessarily. I mean, person to person, Qualified to do what?
Bring your best to the table.
Yeah.
And there are going to be people who don't get it, who don't want to work with you.
Because they're racist?
I mean, that's the reality of the situation, unfortunately, in America today. But I personally...
A very offhanded way of saying white people are racist. If you're in a room full of people who don't look like you, they're obviously not wanting to work with you because they're racist. It's not your business. It's not your pitch. It's not your attitude. It's not the way that you sell yourself. It's because they're racist. Okay.
Have found the tech sector to overall be relatively welcoming, especially if you have really strong technical skills, which are needed right now.
Oh, so they value on your merit? God forbid. Thank you, Officer Buck. I know it's irrelevant. I'm just sleep deprived and kind of curious. If you want to look up the speaker, go ahead. I couldn't tell you.
I think one of the ways that you also suggested people kind of try to tackle this or overcome imposter syndrome is to build a network. I mean, right now we're all living in a virtual world because we're all inside for obvious reasons. How can people build virtual networks now? What are some ways they can start to do that?
Have you ever used the internet? I have a network right now. I have a network of just people, far-flung people with different things and different specialties just by being online and communicating with people and finding people of similar mindsets and things. It's an amazing thing. I'm probably a part of the last generation to remember a time before all of this social media stuff. And so I can think back to a time when my world was relatively cloistered. Not necessarily by choice, although certainly that was an aspect of it, but just by the limitations of technology and society in general. And now I regularly talk to people from across the country, across the world, different perspectives, different ideas, on and on and on. If you don't know how to leverage as a business person networking in the online age, I don't know what to tell you. I really don't. I'm not a business person of any particular degree, but I've got a network of people from all over the place, from musicians to comic book artists to business people to academics to everything. Yeah. I mean, I suppose there are people out there that don't know how to do it or don't know how to brainstorm how to leverage what they have available to them to do so. So, okay, how would you do that?
Well, especially for younger people, wow, what an advantage you have that I didn't have in terms of, coming into your career.
How long have you been in your career? I mean, I was able to network in that same way for the last, at best, the last 15 years. I'm being generous. It's probably the last 20. But at least since 2005, thereabouts, I've been quote unquote networking and making connections with people all over the place of different walks of life through the internet, through social media, and so on. So I have no idea how long our speaker's been doing what she's been doing, but a 15-year advantage is a 15-year advantage.
With a network that you can keep in touch with, because as you get older, a lot of your peers are going to have really interesting careers and jobs. And you can help each other. But I have found that the power of a network to be the thing that has made all the difference for me. I could not have launched my businesses without my network.
Networking is not a modern idea. It's different today than it was 15, 20 years ago, certainly. But networking, making connections, making contacts, going to conventions, getting phone numbers, making new friends, and so on, whether you're talking about business or just in life in general, that's not a new strategy. The tools are different today. The importance and necessity and utility of it hasn't changed. I'm just saying that because it's nothing revelatory here.
Definitely couldn't have kept them. And growing it over time is really important because that's where you're going to find your team members, your clients, your partners, opportunities to co-market together, and people who will have your back and vouch for you in spaces where, you might be different than, the norm. And that
spaces where you might be different than the norm. It's okay, guys. I know her. She's cool. She can be in here even if she looks different. I swear, guys, since you're all obviously racist and or sexist. Just so you know. I mean, in case you are racist and or sexist, I'm just telling you she's cool. I vouch for her. You can believe me because I'm of a particular gender and or race like you. Whereas you obviously wouldn't give her the time of day all on her lonesome if I didn't vouch for her. Lovely.
That certainly has happened for me, where I've had white peers say, hey, Cheryl's great.
Cheryl is great. This individual person here, on her own merits, is great.
You should talk to her, which has sometimes made a big difference.
Yeah, imagine that. Having someone introduce a stranger to someone else and vouch for them because of who they are. And not a presupposition that what they are is somehow problematic. God forbid.
Cheryl, we're getting some questions in from viewers.
Questions from viewers? Oh, boy.
And this one comes from Twitter.
A question from Twitter? Oh, boy.
From Scribelight. And the question is, how do you authentically avoid contributing to the systems of white supremacy in an industry as complicit as marketing?
Yes, friends. Yes, this was the special reason I wanted to broadcast this particular podcast now that it has been published. Several days ago, I saw this advertised as a live stream upcoming on Twitter. And I saw the subject matter was marketing and diversity. I didn't know much else about it. So without knowing anything about the show, without knowing anything about the speaker, anything about the business or the subject to be talked about, I came up with the most buzzword-laden nonsense question I could imagine at that moment. It means nothing. And I got it read live on the air. And now here it is for posterity, me appearing on an NPR broadcast. So, just for reference, I'm going back. I'm going to replay that so you can hear the question one more time. And also, I can hear my name spoken on NPR.
My network definitely couldn't have kept them. And growing it over time is really important because that's where you're going to find your team members,
Yes.
your clients,
Yes.
your partners,
Yes.
opportunities to co-market together,
Yes.
and people who will have your back and vouch for you in spaces where, you might be different than, the norm. And that's
I rewound too far, obviously.
For me, where I've had white peers say, hey.
Yeah, okay. Let me skip ahead a little bit.
Cheryl, we're getting some questions in from viewers, and this one comes from Twitter, from Scribelight. And the question is, how do you authentically avoid contributing to the systems of white supremacy in an industry as complicit as marketing?
Now, when I wrote that, originally, the word authentically wasn't in there. I was about to hit send on that, but I was like, no, I need to add something else to this. I need to give it a little bit more kick. So I added authentically. So one more time. I know. I'm being a jerk here doing this one more time, but we're going to do it one more time. Okay? One more time.
Cheryl, we're getting some questions in from viewers, and this one comes from Twitter, from Scribelight. And the question is, how do you authentically avoid contributing to the systems of white supremacy in an industry as complicit as marketing?
Now, this is absolutely true. And I'm not lying when I say I have not heard the answer given by the speaker to my question. This will be the first time I'm hearing her answer to my question. Here we go.
In the U.S.
That is a great question, because white supremacy isn't just a white people problem. It's an everybody problem, right? We see it all the time in various ways.
Yeah. White supremacy is not a white people problem. We see it all over the place all the time.
Where people even diminish themselves, or they say, oh, I don't want that kind of person helping me,
Right.
even if they're the same color.
You're right. I guess. So people are just racist for the sake of being racist all the time, whether they're white or not. Oh, okay.
So it's certainly something that we focus on at Do Big Things. All of my businesses have been diverse.
All of your businesses have been diverse. What does that mean?
And that's not, again, just a nice to have. It's a strategy. And
being diverse is a strategy. Oh, what is your strategy for being diverse in the employment of your business?
in our case, we have people who have a disability. We have LGBTQ staff. We have people who live in every region of the United States: West Coast, East Coast, Midwest, South. We have people of every different ethnicity. We have people who are immigrants, and people whose family, like mine, have been here for centuries.
That could describe any business on the planet, startup or otherwise. But you said it was a strategy. You didn't say it was a nice to have. You said it was a strategy, a premeditated notion. What do you mean it's a strategy?
When the content comes from those voices and they're targeting the same market, it's so much more authentic.
So, and I know I'm reaching here, but if your strategy is to have diverse people in your workforce, then you must be intentionally hiring people on the basis of things other than merit. Right?
And we try to pull in the voices of the people we're serving. As much as possible. So it's not always us talking or creating the content. We're finding that, we're working with the people to then put those voices back into the ether.
Okay, you lost me on that last one. That made absolutely no sense. But that's her answer, guys. That's her answer. I hadn't heard it before, but now that I've heard it, there's so much implied in what she just said. So much implied.
Question from Tom via LinkedIn. Tom says, we want more diversity at our company. How do we strategically market to minorities to get them interested in working for us?
Ooh, that's a much more cogent question from Tom. I'm curious to know the answer. Now, again, my question, as it was formulated, was absolute nonsense gibberish in my own mind. Like I said, I just plugged in every single buzzword I could into the question, and that was the answer. But now Tom has asked something that's an interesting question. How do you strategically target particular diverse demographics for your business or for joining your business?
That is a really great question. Good.
It is a great question. I confess. It's probably a more intelligent question than the one I asked, since mine was absolute bollocks.
Good for you.
Good for you for asking a great question. I didn't get a good for you. Come on. You were so happy with my question. You were so, and by the way, the original broadcast of this, you could actually, it was like a Zoom meeting or something. You could see both their faces. The one part of it I did see before the stream crashed on me, and that's why I never heard the answer to my question, was the look on her face after he finished reading my question. She was so excited. She was so happy with the question I asked. I wish I could show it to you, but I don't have the video. So, yeah.
I get it that, you're trying to reach outside your network and you're not really sure how to start. And I think acknowledging that is important. It happens to me all the time where colleagues reach out to me and say, who do you know, Cheryl? Can you?
You mean networking? What's that got to do with targeting specific? Oh, do they come to you because of the way you look? Well, that's interesting.
You connect me. So figure out who in your network. You've got to know, hopefully, at least some Black and brown people. And if you don't know them personally, look them up on LinkedIn.
Yeah, because any Black or brown person you come across is obviously the bellwether for that entire demographic. Okay.
Start to look in your field, start to read articles in your field and figure out, okay, who are the leaders who also happen to be Black? Or Latinx or
Latinx. Stop trying to make Latinx happen. It's not going to happen.
Asian American.
Oh.
Reach out to them, even if you don't know them. And
well, wait. Reach out to them because of their skin color. Reach out to them because of their race. Reach out to them because I assume, or I'm being told to assume, that because they are of a particular race, that therefore they can be a pipeline to that demographic. That's the advice we're being given here. To assume a connection or a knowledge or a quality of thought possessed by someone on the basis of their skin color or ethnicity. Wow, that's innovative.
To say, hey, I love your work. I think you're great.
Even if I don't know who the hell you are, I love your work. I think you're great, but you fall into the demographic that I want to have a market share of. Really? Really?
I'd love to get to know you. And hey, we're also hiring. Actually, you're going to have to do a little more work. You're going to have to get out of your bubble and really reach out.
Your racist, xenophobic, hate-filled bubble, which you obviously have.
Now, there's also lots of venues where you can reach out. There's Black Enterprise Magazine. There are, of course, shows, that you can advertise on, blogs. There are online influencers you can look up. But it does require taking that step of doing some research to figure out who are the leaders, who are the players, and how can we start to reach out to them to help us recruit.
Right. Okay.
We have a question from Sadie from YouTube. Sadie asks, what advice do you have for women of color who want to start their own businesses, but they may not have the resources to get started?
What's that got to do with being a woman of color? What advice could you give anybody who wants to start up a business but doesn't have the resources? What does it mean specifically to be a woman of color? Again, I have worked for startups run by the whitest of white men, and the path was not laid bare for them because they were white men. I don't know what to tell you. It's no walk in the park for anybody all the time, regardless of what you look like. I mean, it depends on luck. It depends on your idea. It depends on your business. I mean, some people have hit it off without trying. It's true. But it's not guaranteed. And it's certainly not assured because of the basis of your skin color or the genitals in your pants.
Yeah, there's a chance that you don't have the resources to get started and that it's going to be more difficult.
Yeah, because obviously women of color are all poor, right? What is that supposed to mean?
For you. I mean, there's no question. Yes, it might take you a little bit longer to raise. It might take you a little bit longer to sell.
What is your advice, though? We already know regardless of what they look like or what gender they are. They're starting out without any real money. What advice do you have for somebody in that position, regardless of what they look like?
However, things have definitely changed since I first started my startup.
Okay.
There's a lot more angel networks that are focused on people of color and
angel networks focused on people of color. Okay.
On female entrepreneurs.
And on female entrepreneurs. Okay.
In the wake of the racial justice movement that has surged forward, almost every fund that I know is really looking at, how can we lean in on funding people of color? And look, you don't have to have your own idea.
What?
The good news is that there are a lot of companies that have franchises, and they're eager to bring in people of color to run those franchises.
Oh, so there are companies specifically hiring people on the basis of race to act as the figureheads of their franchises. I would love a list of names of these companies.
They will give you money, loans, they'll give you training.
Because of your skin color?
You're in a network. So there are lots of different ways to find those resources, but look online. I mean, the good news is this is the power of building a network.
Hey, wait, weren't you talking earlier about trying to avoid imposter syndrome? And yet you just told us, you just recommended that people look for businesses who are specifically looking for people of color? Why are you being hired in this scenario, if not for your skin color? Won't you always have to wonder, would I have been given this opportunity with the same merits and same skills and same experience if I'd been a white person? Really?
When you go to places like AngelList or FS6, there are all of these great networks, even LinkedIn, where there are investors who are looking for entrepreneurs and team members who may not have their own idea, but they want to get involved in a startup.
And who are of the appropriate melanin count or gender, I suppose, depending on the circumstances. Really?
So build your team.
In recent months, we've had some VCs on who are focusing on supporting women and women of color. And as you point out, the environment is changing for fundraising for Black entrepreneurs. But if you are, a Black founder, say, in the middle of the country, in a place like St. Louis.
St. Louis, which is obviously totally racist, I guess. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead. I'm guessing. Maybe I'm trying to be a mind reader. I don't know.
Or Chicago, rather than, New York or the Bay Area,
where everybody's less racist, I guess. No one nowhere says you're inferring that, Scrap. You're right. I am inferring that. You're right. I apologize.
Where do you start? Where do you start to kind of look around for support when you have what you think is a great idea?
There's probably an angel network, that's local in your state, and you should look them up and seek them out.
Yeah, an angel network that's not racist like the rest of the population of the state you live in, I guess.
But you've got to start making relationships outside of St. Louis, for sure.
Okay. Admittedly, I do not know what the culture of St. Louis specifically is like. Maybe St. Louis is the most racist place in the country. I don't know. It sounds a bit harsh, but then I don't know what goes on in St. Louis or Chicago. I have an inkling of what goes on in Chicago, but okay.
That doesn't mean that you have to move your business or that you have to move. If there's any bright light in the pandemic, there aren't very many, but one bright light is that where you live right now doesn't matter so much.
This is true. If you have a business that is resilient enough, or whose business is such that can be done online, a lot of boundaries that might have otherwise been there prior to the pandemic have broken down a lot more. So there's that.
So, it's a question of how do you start to map out, okay, this is my idea. Who are the funds? Who are the investors that are interested in this kind of either manufacturing or AI or this startup or food? Because funds, VCs, and angels do tend to have a focus.
Really? Wow. I had no idea that different venture capitalists or different funds had a focus in industries. Sorry, I know that is obviously condescending, but some of this just sounds like information you could glean by a quick Google search or simple common sense. This doesn't sound like anything that is what I would pay a marketing firm to tell me. But maybe I'm just special. Let's see. Pincalo says St. Louis gave us Nelly. I never listened to Nelly. Dempster Fire says St. Louis is a crappy place. I've never been to St. Louis, so I have no idea. Thogden Army says St. Louis is a chocolate city. Okay. What's his face McWhatnot? I'm pretty sure East St. Louis is more racist than St. Louis, Scribelight. I don't know. I mean, St. Louis seemed very specific. So maybe St. Louis at this point in history is really just a hellhole for racism. I don't know. But our speakers are at least implying such. So
of where they're going to put their money. They're not just looking for any startup or, any Black person or any woman of color.
Are you sure? Because earlier it sounded like they'll take anybody who fits into specific racial or gender demographics just to have a figurehead in their franchise. So what exactly is does merit then matter? Is that what you're telling me?
For any founder. So that's the beauty of the internet. You can actually go out and Google and start to network and just talk to them.
The internet allows you to interconnect with people all over the world?
Don't be shy. I mean, look, I'm here to tell you, being shy is not a way to be successful in
You don't say.
business.
Yeah.
If you don't look like a traditional entrepreneur, whatever that means, you're
No. What do you mean, whatever that means? You just said if you don't look like a traditional entrepreneur. Hey, Mark Zuckerberg, you already told us the traditional entrepreneur is Mark Zuckerberg. What do you mean, whatever that means? You've already set the standard. Why are you fudging on it now?
you're going to have to be, fairly assertive and persistent. One of the ways in which, I was able to get that first funding was not giving up. I had to knock on an awful lot of doors.
Which is obviously a unique thing that only you ever had to do to get your business started up. I'm sorry, and I know I sound very judgmental here, but nothing of what she's described as her journey sounds all that unique to most small business owners or startups. For all the other travails that she's brought up and not specified, nothing of what she has said so far is special. Maybe her personal story has a lot of twists and turns to it. I don't know, but she hasn't said anything that sounds beyond the pale of anyone else that I've known who's tried to start up a new business or been running a startup or just had to do business in general. It's not easy. You have to burn a lot of shoe leather, as they say. So I don't know.
A lot of doors shut on me, but I didn't give up. And eventually I was able to find those first couple of investors who said, this seems like a really good bet.
This seems like a really good bet. Right. Because their concern is the bottom line, return on investment, ROI. 99% of VCs concern themselves first and foremost with ROI and not necessarily, and in most cases, not at all, the physical appearance of the person pitching them.
I know the world of venture capital and impact investing, better than most, just from direct and at times painful experience.
Impact that's the second time that she's brought up the term impact, whatever, follow it with whatever word. What does that mean? I don't know. If somebody in the chat knows what impact investing or impact funding or whatever else, is there some special meaning to that word in the realm of business or investment? I don't know, honestly.
And this is a great time to be an investor. And for a lot of different reasons, there are haves and have-nots in America right now.
There are haves and have-nots in America right now, unlike the entire history of this country or something? What?
If you are a have, there are some excellent opportunities to both make money in the near future and invest in impact companies that aim to bring something positive into the world.
Okay, so is an impact company a socially conscious / activist company or branded as such? Is that what that means? I don't know.
And solve problems. And that means doubling down, if you want to bring this economy back, doubling down on investing in small businesses, especially from women, especially from minorities.
Why? Why discriminate? Why?
Especially from rural areas, in innovative startups that are rising up, because those are the businesses right now that are undervalued and are going to overperform.
They're undervalued because of the gender and or color of the person running it, not the bottom line or the product or the success or the potential. Okay.
That's an excerpt from a conversation with Cheryl Conti, the founder and CEO of Do Big Things. To see our full interview, you can go to facebook.com/howibuiltthis. And if you want to see all of our past live interviews, you can find them there or at youtube.com/NPR. If you want to find out more about the How I Built This Resilience series.
Okay, well, anyway, the rest of this is apparently a promo for his series. If you want to see the full interview or links there too, the link is in the description to the actual podcast. So there you go, guys. I don't know what any of that had to do with building a resilient company. It sounded more like venture capitalists are all racist and entrepreneurs are all racist. And companies need to hire people on the basis of their race and or gender, or people with a particular race and or gender need to be given special help because otherwise they wouldn't be able to succeed. Those are the messages I took away from that. Beyond the wonderment that was having my nonsense question read on the air and taken seriously without hesitation. That was the part that I'm most proud of. I know, it's silly. It was a bit of a troll, but listening to her response, such as it was, to a question that I just loaded up with every buzzword that I'd heard coming forward from social justice or TEDx talks over the last couple of years, was just a joy, an absolute joy. When I heard him read it, I was so happy. And I'm also so happy to have shared it with you. So I'll take a couple minutes if you guys have any questions or comments in the chat. I'll take those and then I'll wrap this up for the Sunday. James Andrew Morrison, I've heard of high and low impact marketing, i.e. mass advertising and specialized advertising, but never just impact marketing. Yeah, I don't know what impact means in this instance. I assume it has a special meaning. I'm assuming from context clues that it refers to marketing and or companies who are doing social justice or social activism work in some fashion, or at least brand themselves as such. I don't know. Mark Panicki, pressure creates diamonds. Therefore, every minority member is under immense pressure to, and also a diamond. It's basic science, Scribelight. I guess. I don't know. I'm having to make a lot of assumptions from what our speaker said since there wasn't a whole lot of specificity. Let's see. Some ammunition. And you made this into an excerpt too, Scribelight. I probably will. I'll probably chop out my question and her response and post that on Twitter at some point just for posterity's sake. Keeverdam, wow, I've been missing a lot of your streams lately. Well, they're not going anywhere. Well, unless, of course, TED Talks decides to bring them down. But they're here for reference later. And Keeverdam, specifically you and everybody else who retweets my stuff, thank you so much. And by the way, I don't say this often enough. If you do decide to retweet and or share my stuff, particularly on Twitter, because that's really the only social media I use, please be sure to tag me in your tweet. If you put me up at the front of the tweet, be sure to put a period up first, or else I guess most people won't see it, to let me know that you've done so. Because if I see that, I want to thank you personally because I appreciate it. So thank you, Keeverdam, and everybody else who does that. Laughter is deadly. Scribelight. She didn't say impact marketing. She said impact startup is a 6-month accelerator program for early stage impact entrepreneurs held in Stockholm and Malmo. Oh, a 6-month accelerator program. So is an accelerator program like you go there and they give you sort of like seed money off the bat? Or I'm honestly curious. I don't know. I've heard of like, what was that called? It was called Y Combinator, an accelerator something. There was some entity out there, it might still be in existence, something called Y Combinator, if that's what I'm thinking of. What's his face and whatnot. Your question was the high point of that excerpt, Scribe-like. Yeah, I know. This was a vanity project. Don't get me wrong. The only reason I'm paying attention to this particular podcast is because I made a peripheral appearance on it. Let's see. Humble Clay says it is like Code Camp. Okay, I can see that. But anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap this up here. Admittedly, the only reason, as I said, I'm focusing on this is because my nonsense question ended up being read seriously and answered seriously by two professionals. I do not blame them for being fooled because, well, I was using the parlance of the time in asking my question. And it says more to me about where we're at, that it was taken seriously and answered truthfully, than it does that I just made it up. So one way or the other, that's what you get. Anyway, everyone, thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. If you'd like to hear more from me or Satsu 2 Cents or the Ranting Monkey, you can find all three of us tomorrow night, Monday night, on Satsu 2 Cents' channel at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern for The Lords of the Night, where we will talk about the news of the day, news stories that you submit to us, what we've been up to on the internet, and then your questions and comments. Everyone, for those of you who joined me for the earlier stream and for this one, thank you so much. If you didn't or you're listening in the future, all the same, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate your attendance, your participation. For those of you who donated, thank you so much for your generosity. It will all go towards horrible things I'll put into my body, like goldfish crackers and Jack Daniels. And I'll probably need the latter for the upcoming election. But we'll deal with that on Tuesday night, which will be on my channel for Lords of the Night. Everyone, have a great rest of your Sunday. I hope you're all safe and well. If you're not well, please get well soon, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.